Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 442, Halloween Games.
Welcome, citizens of Meeple Nation. For the next 30 minutes, sit back and enjoy.
Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 442, Halloween Games.
Meeple Nation is sponsored by GameToppersLLC.com. Upgrade your game night with a beautiful game topper. They have game toppers of all different sizes to fit any game surface, even ottomans. You can put them on the floor. Game toppers are absolutely amazing. It is the best upgrade I've ever purchased for anything as far as my game room goes or any game. In fact, it's upgraded every single game I own. Game Toppers LLC, check them out. They have obviously toppers. They have mats to go on those toppers. They have a wide variety of mats, and the prints on the mats are gorgeous. The mats have a stitched edge and are the highest quality mat I've seen on the market. They are wonderful mats. You will not be disappointed in anything that you see on their website. Check them out, GameToppersLLC.com.
Funny you talk about being the upgrade. I just bought some new bookshelves to class up the Meeple Nation headquarters here. I bought some really cheap plain Jane white bookcases. That has actually really improved my storage. I got two of those cube shelves over there that also improved my storage. But still, Game Topper, by far the best upgrade I have ever done for my game night. Like you said, it upgrades every game night, and it is just amazing. We are your hosts of Meeple Nation. I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Dave Holliday.
I'm Andy Holliday.
Yes, you are.
I'm trying to hold it together. I'm Douglas Stewart.
Jump on over to our website, meeplenation.com. You can see all of our past episodes, our blogs. We have a lot of fun blogs out there. Jump over there, give them a perusal. You might even find some that are themed for the spooky weekend coming up, or give you some ideas for what games you could play during this haunted season. We also have links to our Instagram page. You can see those pictures on our main page there. Feel free to reach out to us at meeplenation@gmail.com. There's also bios for all of us. If you want to learn a little bit more about each of us, feel free to check those out. Also on that main page is a link to our Patreon page. We are so humbled by those who continue to support the podcast. We appreciate greatly. Hope that you continue to enjoy the podcast as much as we do. If anybody else has the desire to donate to our Patreon, you can follow the link there on our meeplenation.com website. Give you a shout out and tell you how much we love you.
This week, we are doing our annual discussion of Halloween-themed or Halloween-style games. So, listen.
I'm listening.
Oh, I'm listening.
May just hear some monsters or some deep, dark themes or some spooky thrills.
One of the games that I play every single October, my kids, if I can get my spouse to play, then that's great. That usually doesn't happen. But that's Betrayal at House on the Hill. I have owned this game for a long time. The original edition of Betrayal at House on the Hill. What a fun game. Exploration as you're going through the mansion and flipping over tiles and trying to find these different rooms and that have different effects, trying to raise your stats up. Each character wants to raise their stats up. But eventually, an omen card is going to get drawn that will start the haunt. And when that haunt starts, one player will become the traitor. That player will then take the traitor book, go into a different room, and read what their winning condition is, and the remaining players will stay and read their book, figure out what their winning condition is. I believe in the book there are 50 different haunts, so the replayability is really high. We have not gotten through all of them. We would really have to play this game a lot to get through everything. Everybody comes back, and you continue to play the game, but with the new rules based on whichever haunt was revealed.
I'm really interested, Andy. Are you going to get your mom to play with you this season?
I think that she would love it.
I think so, too. As soon as you started talking about that, I immediately went, this is going to be great for when your mom comes. I think that's going to be awesome.
I think so, too. I think she would struggle, maybe not, being the traitor. She's actually surprised me how quickly she's picked up games. She never really played games my entire time growing up. Anything heavy, there was no way you could ever get her to the table. The fact that she not only comes to play games with myself and my kids every 2 weeks, but very much looks forward to it. Now she's playing Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's awesome. I think that she'll really enjoy it. I love Betrayal House on the Hill. I like it far more than the legacy version of it. It's a staple for Halloween at my house.
That's awesome. I need to play this one again. I had a really, really good time playing this a couple times with my kids for the first half of each of those games. I love the way those tiles come out, the way you explore this old house, the fun of that discovery and exploration. Unfortunately, both times we played, we got haunts that were just a little bit too complicated for my kids. Some of them are a little more simple. Some of them are a little more complicated. They struggled to get the rules right and kind of understand what was going on. It has sat on the shelf for a really long time. I need to break this one out again and try it.
Well, now that your kids are a little older, this is one of the games we played more with just the adults for quite a while for that reason. If you get one of the little kids, younger players that ends up being the traitor, where they're to try to read the rule book and there's no one to try to bounce those rules off of, whether they might be complex and sometimes they're a little ambiguous on exactly what you need to do. Having somebody maybe is a little bit older, now that your kids are older, I think they'd probably enjoy it now.
I think you're right. And this one is just a game that absolutely oozes that Halloween theme in such fun ways.
Totally does, yeah.
I enjoy Pandemic. The fact that it's a cooperative game. I like the mechanics of it. I love Pandemic Legacy Season 1, 2, and 0. There is a Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu available. I've only played this a couple of times. I own it. It's kind of a tough one to get to the table. Not all of us really enjoy those cooperative games. Some of us do, some of us don't. Pandemic, Reign of Cthulhu, you play as investigators, and you're trying to, instead of cure diseases, you're trying to stop the raising of the old ones, and you're threatened by cults, you're threatened by seals that are being open, and you're trying to make sure that you close those seals, stop the cultists, just kind of like you're curing those diseases in the original game. Still uses all those same mechanics with the deck, the pandemic deck, and the outbreaks. Very much enjoy it. It's simple to learn. It's still Pandemic, but it has that theme on it, the Reign of Cthulhu. It's a fun alternative, and especially for this time of the year, it's a great one to bust out. Experience both that cooperative and simple fun game. Check that out. Running through Arkham, Dunwich, Innsmouth, and Kingsport, trying to shut down those gates and prevent those cultists from summoning up those old ones.
Just as you started saying that, I was thinking, I don't think I can say that I don't like cooperative games anymore, because I was thinking about all of the cooperative games that we've been playing lately and how much I enjoy them. Legacy is one of my favorite style of any game. Quite often, the Legacy games are cooperative. Descent and some of these games that are campaign-driven and they're cooperative. You say that not all of us like cooperative games. I don't think I can make that claim anymore. That used to be just kind of a standard, that was the rule, but I think that rule might be gone. Now, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I am actually looking forward to playing, and I think you should help me make this happen, Nathan. I am looking forward to playing the Arkham Horror card game, or whatever it is.
Arkham Horror, the living card game?
Yeah.
Arkham Horror, the living card game is my favorite game. I love Arkham Horror.
I did too.
Not the board game, though.
No, the card game.
The card game is amazing.
There's one that's out there that I picked up a little bit ago. I think that you will like. I haven't read the rules yet. Very much want to get to it. But it is called Bureau Investigations in Arkham and Elsewhere. When you're going to take a trip to the United States in the 1920s and tear the veil, assimilating unspeakable threats from elsewhere. You are working for the Bureau of Investigation and investigate paranormal cases inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Explore Boston, Arkham, and exotic lands, follow the leads, question witnesses, find clues, and take actions to solve these 5 never-published-before cases. This is a cooperative and standalone game based on the popular Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective series with some new mechanisms. Pretty excited when I saw this. Thought this would be a great game for the Halloween season, but I failed to get the rules read before the season came upon us. One that I'm very much looking forward to trying.
That's a game that's on my list to play as well. So when you get that to the table, I definitely want to be part of that. That looks really, really good.
I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be awesome.
I think we need double game nights in October.
That would be awesome.
To play all the Halloween games.
All of them.
My marriage could survive that, sure.
I second the motion.
Just tell her it's for a month. That's all.
Just tell her that she doesn't have to see you for a month.
Sold.
Doug, I brought up the Arkham Horror, the living card game, as one that I want to play, and you just happened to say that that is actually your favorite game.
Yeah, if I was to create a top 10 list right now, guaranteed number one would be Arkham Horror, the living card game. Love everything about it. I love the theme. I love the mechanisms. I love the deck building. I love the storytelling. We need an entire podcast to talk about that one. It is absolutely wonderful. Brilliant game.
Our friend Brent, that is his all-time favorite game as well, and he has played it hundreds of times. You can play it one player, you can play it with a group. I very much enjoyed it. Got to the point where I had to trim some games, and that was one that got trimmed.
Maybe you should consider untrimming it.
Well, I culled it, so
Oh, no.
yeah. I will gladly play your copy with you.
Okay, sounds good.
All my stuff is gone. That was a mistake, but it's gone.
I could have told you it was a mistake. I don't cull games. I just buy them.
That's why I have over 1,000 games, because I don't cull games anymore.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about a little game called Disney's The Haunted Mansion, Call of the Spirits. This game was designed by Prospero Hall and is published by Funko Games in 2020. Honestly, if you don't like The Haunted Mansion at Disneyland, or maybe you've never been, this is possibly not the game for you, but I still think it's a pretty fun, simple little set collection game. The board basically has 6 different rooms, sort of thematically represent areas on the Haunted Mansion ride. There's like the crypt and the mausoleums, the dining room, ballroom, attic, etc. And as the game progresses, more and more cards will be added out into these different rooms on the board. In the middle of the table is a rondel. So Nathan, I think you would love this game actually.
I do love rondels.
There's this little rondel that your player pawns will move around. And as you stop at the various rooms, you're going to pick up cards and basically try to complete sets. On these cards, again, totally thematic with that Haunted Mansion, there's like the musician ghosts. The more of them you collect, the more points you get. The dancing ghosts, you pick up one and it's not worth anything. But if you compare it with a partner, suddenly it becomes worth a bunch of points. There's the ballroom ghosts, the stretching portrait ghost when you first go onto the ride. There's the organist and the executioner, basically just ghosts that are based on things you'd see during the ride. There's also hitchhiking ghosts also move around the board. And if you take cards from spots where the hitchhiking ghosts are, then you have to take penalties in the form of honk cards that can potentially give you negative points at the end of the game. It's only going to be the player who collects the most honk cards or has the most honk card points that will count that score against them. So as you're playing the game, there's a fun little push your luck mechanic as well. There are some other fun elements to the game. There's a deck of event cards that changes the rule for each round and kind of sets the timer for the game. It has these little bidding dials you can use so that players can fight over certain cards. All in all, I think this is a fun, fast, and really highly thematic little set collection game. And I'll also add, super, super cheap. I think this is kind of a mass market game. You can find it at Target and most other places, I think for around $20. If you want a great set collection game that's really good for kids, that plays fast and has a really fun theme to it, this may fit that bill.
Bringing this game up reminded me of a headline that I saw. There's a Madame Leota crystal ball that's available this year. The headline asking if it was worth the price. Available on Amazon for a mere $94. So it has the Madame Leota that floats in the center of the crystal ball. And
But does she talk to you?
doesn't say here, but I think it uses the same lines that she reads on the ride itself. Kind of a fun thing. I would totally buy it if it wasn't $95.
Well, if you don't have $95 to spend, there is a Madame Leota card in Disney's The Haunted Mansion, Call of the Spirits.
I'm just going to mention this for those of you who may not have caught last week's episode. Last week we talked about Zombicide, which obviously fits the theme for what we're talking about today. So we're not going to go into any details on it. I thought it was worth bringing up since all 4 of us here just really, really enjoyed this game. Definitely worth playing during the Halloween season. And if you didn't listen to last week's episode, go check it out. You'll enjoy it.
Yes, Zombicide was awesome. I have owned a game for several years that is on my shelf of shame. It is a Halloween-themed game based on an RPG, and that is Castle Ravenloft. I remember when the Ravenloft RPG came out. Very cool, very unique, fun, horror-themed universe to play in. This follows the basic Dungeons & Dragons, the board game, several games out there of the Dungeons & Dragons, and this is one of them. They've just put Ravenloft theme to it. 1 to 5 players, it's best with 4, plays in 60 minutes. The weight of this is about 2.5. In Castle Ravenloft, the board game, you work together. Each player is going to select a hero. There's a ranger, the rogue, the warrior, the cleric, or the wizard. On their turn, you can explore, so it's going to be a dungeon crawl. You're going to be flipping over tiles. Whenever a tile gets flipped over, there's going to be some sort of encounter, typically monsters to fight, and you work together to complete the goal. So there are different scenarios in the game. Whatever the goal is of that particular scenario that you're playing, you need to get through the dungeon, fight the monsters, find whatever your goal is, whether it's finding a relic or defeating the vampire lord. Figure out how to accomplish that goal and complete the goal before your party's eliminated, before you lose the game. You guys know me, I love a good dungeon crawl, so I can't believe I haven't played this yet. It's just a matter of time, really, is what's stopped me. I love the Ravenloft theme. I think it's really cool. This is one that I need to get to the table. I've been meaning to get it to the table for several years, but it just looks amazing. I think it looks fun.
I would love to play this one. I'm actually already starting to prep now because I'm going to be running the Curse of Strahd next year, which is the campaign setting where Ravenloft was introduced. I can't wait. That is such a cool setting. Really, really be interested to play the board game and see how that implementation works.
This might be an episode of games that I've purchased that haven't played yet, but another one that I've picked up recently that I'm looking forward to playing is Legends of Sleepy Hollow. This is 3 days after the disappearance of Ichabod Crane. 4 Terrytown residents with strange ties to the supernatural venture into the ever-darkening Sleepy Hollow to uncover its mysteries. In Legends of Sleepy Hollow, players take on one of the roles of the 4 residents: the Undertaker, Revolutionary War veteran, the Minister, and the Tanner. Cooperative game, miniature-based campaign full of secrets and twists. During this game, players will use an action pool to move about, to investigate and interact with their environment, or unleash powerful attacks and abilities unique to each character. Another cooperative game. I'm all about cooperative games this Halloween, apparently.
This looks so good. I remember when we talked about this on a news episode when it was still coming out, right? We were anticipating it, and I can't wait to play this one. It looks amazing.
Yips.
It may be one of the rules for you on Nathan.
There you go. It's on that brand new shelf right over there. I know right where it's at now. Legends of Sleepy Hollow. I'm looking forward to playing that one.
Me too. So the next one I wanted to mention and bring up is Cthulhu Death May Die. Have any of you played this one yet?
I have not.
Okay, this is one we really, really need to get to the table then. Designed by Rob Davio and Eric Lang. It was published by Simon Games in 2019. One of my all-time favorite games. Top 15 for sure. I don't know where it ranks, but it's up there. It's an incredibly modular game. Everyone's going to choose a character. There's like 20 plus of them, and they all have asymmetric powers and abilities. You're going to pick an Elder God to play against, so you might be up against Cthulhu, Yog-Sothoth, or the Black Goat of the Woods, one of the Lovecraftian Elder Gods. You're going to pick a scenario. There are 2 seasons. Each season has 6 different scenarios that you can play through. So there's 12 total that you can pick, and you don't have to do them in any particular order. Pick one and go. Basically, this scenario will give you some quick story. It'll set up the mission for you. It's going to instruct you to build a custom map. Then it's going to give you a few mission-specific rules. And the game is actually really simple. So you're basically just going to be moving around. You're trying to achieve different objectives. And you're, of course, fighting monsters. Then the game will culminate in sort of this big showdown between the investigators and the Elder God that you've chosen to play against. It should be mentioned that this is just an Ameritrash dice-chucking romp through that 1920s Arkham, Massachusetts Lovecraftian horror setting. Here is what's really cool about the game. As you roll your dice, if you succeed, that's awesome. You're making progress toward your objectives, or you're doing things, or you're killing stuff, and that's great. But if you fail, your character actually starts to go insane. They move down on this insanity track. All along this insanity track, there are these little nodes. Every time you hit one of those nodes, your character actually levels up. So as you fail your rolls and become increasingly more insane, the more powerful you become as a character, and you're going to need to be powerful to stand a chance against that Elder God that you're fighting. One of the only games that I've ever played where people at the table, as they're playing it, are sitting there going, okay, I've got to fail this roll. I got to fail this roll as you're chucking your dice. It's kind of unique in that regard. You want to level up.
That is really interesting.
So,
sounds fun to play.
Yeah, you're either succeeding or leveling up. It's a really fun game mechanic.
I like
sounds
that.
cool. Yeah, sounds cool for sure.
Creates this really incredible tension during that final showdown because players are more powerful, but they're also nearly dead, hanging on by a thread. Just as the Elder God hits the table, There's that final confrontation between nearly dead, powerful characters and this really powerful entity.
So I have a question about that. For people like you and Andy Poops who are rolling D6s,
D6 hate me.
I knew that was
both results are good. Does the die just disappear?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I like this game so much. It's a benefit either way. There are times in the game where you definitely want it to be successful, and when
Sure.
you definitely want it to be a failure. Whatever I want it to be, it's going to be the opposite. So that rule does still apply.
So then can you trick the dice, claiming to want the one when you actually want the other?
No, but it doesn't mean I don't try.
This sounds like one of the games that I would need to play, make sure that Doug is playing, because I noticed that D6s treat me substantially better when Doug is in the game. They kind of focus their hate on him far more than me.
Well, you're welcome. It is the worst. This is a hard game. Like, it is actually incredibly difficult. I have lost more games than I've won as I've played this, but the times that we have won, it has always come down to kind of a nail bite finish. This game has fun mechanic where if one player is eliminated, the game is over. But other players at the table still have, to the end of the round, or maybe it's one more turn, I can't remember off the top of my head, try to finish the game. A lot of games end with 2 or 3 players at the table essentially sacrificing themselves, just giving everything they've got to fight the Elder God, and then the last player at the table finally finishing them off. I've had multiple games end that way, so it's always really high tension, kind of nail bite finish. I really, really like that. This is a really fun one. I love the Lovecraftian theme for the holidays, for Halloween.
No, I mentioned that we need to have double game nights. One of the biggest reasons are 2 games. We do find ourselves playing throughout the year, but they are such great Halloween-themed games. Those 2 games are Shadows of Brimstone and Folklore. We have campaigns going, multiple campaigns of Shadows of Brimstone, and we have a campaign going in Folklore. Both of these games are games I would really love to get to the table more often. With Shadows of Brimstone, set in a Western theme, there's also an expansion that's set in a Far East theme. Essentially going into the mines, exploring these mines, and sometimes you end up in other worlds. You go through portals and you end up in other worlds. You are fighting demons, you're fighting different monsters, leveling up your characters. There's story is involved in it. It doesn't bog you down with story. A lot of it is just dungeon crawl, just fighting monsters, exploring new rooms, and honestly, I think it could use a little bit more story to it than it actually has. You have several mission books that you can go through. The amount of content Shadows of Brimstone has is unreal. There is so much. The enemy packs, all the different expansions that will expand your missions, and the hero packs that you can get. Crazy the amount of stuff you can get for this game. As far as Folklore is concerned, it plays completely different. It is a very unique, it has a dungeon crawler element to it. It's almost like an open world adventure game as well. You have a world map that you get to explore and move around on. On the world map, depending on whether you take the road or you're off-roading it during your travels, you have different types of encounters. Obviously, if you're traveling the road, it's a little more safe. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to have an encounter. You may fight vampires at some point, or zombies, or whatever. The way the game plays, you have different types of encounters when you're on the world map versus if you're in the dungeon crawl where you pull out the miniatures and you actually have the more tactical side of it like you would at normal dungeon crawl. But you can also have skirmishes on the world map, which are just quick battles. But they tend to be very, very devastating, or can be, sometimes far more so than the dungeon crawl style battles. Different cities you can go to gain equipment. Each character is going to have unique things that they can do in the city, unique items they can gain in the cities. Overall, I love the theme of Folklore. I love the uniqueness of the gameplay. The characters are very unique. Just their abilities, the way you level up, it's all very unique.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Folklore as well. Great game. Shadows is too. Folklore, for me, like you pointed out, with all the unique characters, there are so many, and we just have barely even scratched the surface with that one so far. As far as developing the character goes, you seem to have a little less choice in developing those than I typically would like, but so far it hasn't bothered me. Shadows, also a great game. And if you're curious, Andy pointed out that we've talked about them somewhat recently. Feel free to go over to meeplenation.com and look up episode 369 was Folklore the Affliction. Episode 408 is when we talked about Shadows of Brimstone. Definitely worth checking out.
glad you brought up Shadows of Brimstone. I really love this game. In fact, after playing it a couple times at your house, I went out and picked up the core box. I don't think I'll pick up all the expansion stuff where I don't have any need to because you have it all. But that is a game that I really want on my game shelf. I think I need a few more plays of Folklore. I need some more time with it. It's good. I like the exploration and discovery. Both really good choices for the Halloween theme.
Sticking to my unplayed games.
We could probably do a full 6 months of episodes.
Hold your tongue, Dave. When I kickstarted this one, I was really excited about it, and we just haven't ever gotten it to the table. There's always so many other games out there. But this is The Night Cage. This is 1 to 5 players, plays in 40 to 60 minutes. You awaken in the dark, your skin cold, your mind blank. You have nothing but your fear, a flickering candle, and a question. How long will your light last? Trapped and crawling your way through pitch-black labyrinth, equipped with nothing but dim candles, you must work together to explore the maze and escape. Unfortunately, your weak candlelight illuminates only your immediate surroundings. Worse still, horrifying wax eaters, monsters who despise the light, lurk in the suffocating darkness for their opportunity to strike. The Night Cage is a fully cooperative, again with the cooperative games with me tonight, horror-themed tile placement game that traps 1 to 5 souls within an unnatural labyrinth of eternal darkness. To win, the players must each collect a key, find a gate, and escape as a group. The whole idea of this game really kind of excited me when it came out on Kickstarter last year. Another one that I'm anxious to get to the table. And right alongside of this is another one called Alone, a space-themed, not quite cooperative, but it's a 1 versus many. Alone is a sci-fi survival horror dungeon crawling game that will pit a single stranded hero against 1 to 3 evil masterminds who will do their best to stop that hero from completing their quest to discover the truth and save his companions. The evil players always have the full map of the scenario in front of them, hidden behind a screen. They manage all the events happening during the game. The hero can only see the sector of the map they are in and only sections that are adjacent to them. As soon as they move, that light changes, right? So lose those tiles behind you and you see the tiles in front of you. Both the theme of this Alone and The Night Cage, I was really excited about. Kind of go hand in hand of how they play. Alone, I actually have played, so both these games have that same element of exploring in the dark. Find that fascinating, looking to explore only what you can see. As you walk on, the light fades behind you. What's happening in the dark, you don't know. The evil masterminds do. Both of those games, I think, are going to be fun.
No, I haven't played either of those, but just listening to you describe it, it sounds like it fits very well with the theme because it builds that anxiety level. And I think Halloween games that give you that a little bit of that anxiety when it's a horror theme, that's a win. That really hits home if it can create those emotions in the players.
Absolutely.
I think I would be remiss if we didn't mention Eaten by Zombies. 2 to 4 player game, plays in 30 minutes, and it is designed by Max Holiday. And that is a relation. Max is our cousin. A couple of years since I've played Eaten by Zombies. It's a deck builder game. Players strive to survive as a horde of the living dead make their goal in death to force you to join their crowd. You must work with or against the other survivors to be the last one standing. No, not standing, cowering in the corner, crying to their mommy. In the spirit of AMC's The Walking Dead and I Am Legend, Eaten by Zombies takes you into a dark world of eventual death. Every turn you must venture out from your safe house and scavenge for swag. But not so fast. The undead have other plans for your brains. Every day, a horde of fresh zombies will be waiting for you, and over time, the threat gets greater. Now it's time for your fight or flight instincts to help you to survive one more day. Using the swag you have on you, you must survive any way you can. If you can get away or kill the horde, you may scavenge the remains of the desolate suburbs. If you can get away or kill the horde, you may scavenge the remains of the desolate suburbs for any swag the neighbors may have left behind. With the right stuff and a few good friends to outrun, you may just make it through this alive. Well, no, probably not. But being the last one to die, a slow and painful death means you can claim a soul victory. Those of you who like zombie games, this is a unique zombie deck builder. It is a bear chase. You're trying to be the last one to get eaten by zombies. Zombie games are not really my thing. However, I've warmed up to it over the last couple of weeks.
Ever since Zombicide?
Ever since Zombicide. Like I said, it's been a couple years since I played this. It is a unique deck builder. I've had fun the times I have played it. Unfortunately, it doesn't make it to the table very often as newer games come and hit the table more frequently than this. It's a great, solid zombie-themed game.
It really fits this theme well. And when you talk about the anxiety, and you can certainly get to that with this game because of the bear chase that you're talking about, that whole thing. One of the greatest things about this game for me is that it has some very unique things to it. Some things that I've never seen in any other game. I mention all the time, I am a total geek for the unique. I love new mechanics, new mechanisms, whatever you want to call them. And this one does things differently.
So that is a fairly good taste of a bunch of different Halloween-themed games. I always love the Halloween episodes because Halloween-themed games are some of my favorites.
And I think we didn't mention one game that we mentioned last year, so that's a plus.
That is a win.
Actually, Arkham Horror, the card game, might have been on there.
We barely mentioned that. We want to dedicate an episode to that. At least Doug wants to.
There already is one out there. But we can
We want to dedicate another episode to it.
I completely agree. I love Halloween-themed games. I am all for double game nights in October to get through them all. Because we need that many game nights to get through all the good ones. There's a lot of good ones out there.
Yeah, we didn't even get to half of our list. We didn't even get to a third of our list. We didn't even get to a quarter of our list.
Did we get to a fifth of our list?
Maybe. There's so many great games that I wanted to talk about. Unfathomable, The Hunger, Masters of the Night.
Yeah, we really need to talk about the Unmatched game system too, because the characters in that game, there's a lot of really, really great Halloween-themed characters.
Yeah.
Jekyll and Hyde, Dracula, the Invisible Man, Bloody Mary, Bigfoot. There's a bunch of them in that one. That's one I love to get to the table.
Join us next week. We have each picked a different Halloween-themed game. We will be discussing those games in full detail.
Maybe not full detail.
Almost.
I'll be discussing in full detail. Until next time,
We'll see you lurking in the shadows at the game table.
As always, we want to thank you for listening.
Check out our website. We have all sorts of cool things there. Love those blogs. Get a deeper look into the writing side of Meeple Nation.
Join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. I look forward to seeing you there.
Follow us on Twitter @MeepleNation. We also have Instagram.
Under the same name. We also want to thank our sponsor, GameToppersLLC.com.
We love their product, and they have so much goodness out there.
And we also want to thank Braiding Detergent for our music.
I wish we had some creepy, spooky music.
I'm sure we could get some, but you should do that again, Doug.
why is that?
Because right when you started, I was tapping because I didn't know you were ready to start.
I didn't hear it.
You might not have
Okay.
picked it up, but just in case.
Just in case. All right, just in case, take two.
Yeah, I totally didn't pick that up, by the way.
Oh, it didn't?
It might have. I heard it.
There we
There,
go.
it kicked in.
Now you have all of us saying, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
That's a game that's on my list of games. Game. Let me just say, how many times can I say game in a sentence? Yeah.
Game on, bro.
Yeah. The Hitchhiking Ghost, or let me say this.
My kids, for whatever reason, they just love infomercials. The number of times that my kids between the ages of like 6 and 16 come running to the other room excited, Mama, Papa, call this number. Just like telling us whatever it is that they just saw was the greatest thing and we have to go buy this right now. It's pretty awesome. So
So do you buy them?
no, heck no.
Such a bad parent.
I know.
You are the pen.
You are Peter Pan. I believe in you. Bang to ring.
Run home, Jack. That's all I got.
I hate you, Mr. Hook. Well, next week we'll be talking about, each of us will be talking about an individual game that we've picked to talk about. Let's try that again. Next week we are going to be discussing. Try that in one more time.
Next week we'll be talking about next week.
Next week, we have each pick a game to discuss and talk about, and discuss and talk about some more.
I told you this is going to be a great episode for bloopers.
Join us next week, and we're each have picked a different. Join us. Try that one more time.
Nate always gets the final word that way. Sorry.
Dang it. I had such a good one, too.
What did you have?
We'll see you insert funny quip here. We'll see you screaming down the halls, running from zombies.
We'll see you trying to tune in to next week's episode. Next week's episode.
Where we'll be discussing and talking about the discussion of stuff.
And the stuff that we're talking about.
Next week.
Are we also going to talk about some discussions?